Hi, I'm Melissa Barunda, and I'm going to discuss some prompts having to do with the roles of special education teachers, general education teachers, dispositions that I might have that will help me to be a successful teacher, and also the effects of personal biases. So, the first prompt is describe the special education teacher's roles in supporting learning, improving, planning, and practice, upholding professional expectations and ethics, and collaboratively advancing the profession. So I think when it comes to a special ed teacher, the starting point is knowing the IEP. What are your students' goals? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What's their diagnosis? What have their experiences been? What are they motivated by? So I think when you're talking about the teacher supporting the child's learning, that is where you start. So once you know the IEP, you go to improving. Okay, and so improving, you're saying what are their goals? These are their goals. This is where we are right now. How do we get to that goal? And that takes you into your planning. So, you know where you need to be, you know where you are. So let's say, your student, one of their goals is to know 20 out of 26 of the alphabet. And say it's a kindergarten classroom. And so, normally the kids all sit at the carpet and they look at the alphabet chart on the wall. And they, you point to the letters and they say the sounds and they say the name of the letter, and that one of your students, there's no way he can do that. He can't sit that long, he can't focus that long. So then you go into your practice and you're like, okay, what am I going to do to help him? So maybe you're going to create an alphabet chart that he can hold on to, right? And he can see it in front of him, so he doesn't have to worry about looking far off and focusing. Maybe he can even punch the letters. So it's tactile. It's not quite interactive, but it's sort of interactive. So that's you putting your planning into practice then. When it comes to upholding professional expectations and ethics, I think this is really important for special ed teachers. You have to keep in mind that all children are entitled to a fair and appropriate education in the least restrictive environment. Unfortunately, in my time working in schools, I've learned that there are people, whether it's the school district or other teachers or whoever may be in the school, who don't want to include children with special needs, who don't want to, help them be successful because it takes away from the other children, let's say, or it creates more work for the teacher. So as a special ed teacher, you really need to advocate and be like, no, this is what they are entitled to. When it comes to collaboratively advancing the profession, I think that it's really important as any teacher, but especially as a SPED teacher, that you read the new research, that you go to trainings, that you go to professional developments, and that you share the information that you get with your other SPED teachers, and also really importantly with your gen ed teachers. I think especially as we move towards inclusion and collaborative classrooms and that kind of stuff, it's so important that the SPED teachers are educating the gen ed teachers. Okay, our next prompt is explain the general education teacher's roles in supporting learning, improving planning and practice, upholding professional expectations and ethics, and collaboratively advancing the profession. So again, I think even for a gen ed teacher, when it comes to supporting learning, I think it's important that the teacher knows where their students are. Generally in a classroom of say 20 something children, you have all different levels of learners. Kids who are meeting standards, who are exceeding them, who are not quite there. So it's important that you know who is in your classroom. It's also really important that you know what the standards are, and again have a course of action as to how you're going to get the student to meet the standards wherever they are. And once you have that plan of like, okay, so and so should be able to add 2-digit numbers, but they're not there. You think about what's your plan going to be. Are you going to make sure they're mastering single digits first? Are you going to make sure they have manipulatives? Are you going to show them all the different tools they can use? And you put that into practice and hope that it works. When it comes to upholding professional expectations and ethics, I think it's important that the teacher, much like the special ed teacher, that they know what students are entitled to and they fight for that. And this could be something like it could be something as simple as helping a student get free breakfast, right, or free lunch if you know that they're in a food insecure home. It also, speaking to ethics, making sure that you are respecting confidentiality. Maybe if a parent who comes to you and shares something troubling that's going on at home, And it's important that you respect that privacy and that confidentiality. And for collaboratively advancing the profession, same as with the special ed teacher, it's important, the teacher's responsibility to go to any professional development they can, to read the latest research, to learn new, reading programs, math programs, anything they can use to help their students. And of course, again, to share that information with their colleagues. All right, dispositions that I currently possess that will help me become a successful teacher, including ones I need to work on before I enter the classroom as a first-year teacher. I would say, to find my disposition paper, high expectations. I love that it says that everyone is capable of great things, and I truly believe that. And I think to be a good teacher, you have to look at each student and say, you are amazing. You can do anything you want. You just have to try, just try. I love that, and that's kind of my motto as well. Respecting the diversity of others. I love that we are different and unique people. I think that, everyone has something unique again to bring into the classroom, and there's all those differences that make up a really cool and unique classroom community. Fairness, I think I try to be very fair. And that kind of goes into biases, but I try really hard not to have biases. I try very hard to kind of have the same standard for everyone so that there isn't a question of fairness, while at the same time, things come up where you do have to take into account situations that students might be going through or something like that. But I definitely try to always be fair. Professional conduct is very important. It's hard when you're a teacher because you're always a teacher regardless of where you are, what you're doing. You always have eyes on you. So walking through the hallway, if you're on your phone, whatever it might be, when you're not teaching, you still have those eyes on you, and it's still really important that you conduct yourself in a professional manner. Reflection, I really enjoy, well, I don't know if I enjoy, but I always ask, is this working for you? Do you understand this? Am I explaining it correctly? Am I being clear? And then I go back and after I teach a lesson, and I think, did they get it? What could I have done better? Curiosity, I love instilling that in the kids, and I love being okay, if I ask a question and they don't answer it, they don't give me the answer I was expecting, I love being okay, I hear you, explain to me how you came up with that, because even if it's not the answer I was looking for, there's still valuable stuff in their thoughts, and I love to pull that out, and I love to make them think, because I think when you think critically, it's when you start to enjoy it more and you learn things better. Honesty, compassion, these are things that are just kind of who I am. They're just things that I walk with, that I lead with. So I think those will help me, serve me well. Advocacy and dedication are two things I think I'm going to struggle with. Not that I'm not an advocate or dedicated, but just really that it's a matter of time, joining social networks and being involved in the community. Not things that I'm against by any means, but it all is going to come down to time management and making sure that I make those things a priority, and not thinking, okay, well, I'm in the classroom from this time to this time, and then I'm, grading papers and prepping, and then that's it. Remembering that there's more and that I need to be more involved. Those are going to be kind of my challenges that I will work on before I go into the classroom. Last but not least, and we are over the time limit, are biases. Discuss the effects personal biases have on expectations teachers have for their students, and how these biases affect their relationships with students and their families. I mean, we all have biases unbeknownst to us. It could be that you like a student more than another student, so you sort of bend the rules. You're okay, fine, turn your homework in late, or okay, you can have a few more minutes for this assignment or this test or whatever. I really like, one of the things I read in the article about special education teachers and biases was having another teacher assess your students. I think that's great. I think that's a way to totally, or not totally, but a great trend to sort of eliminate biases. I think that I love it, and I think I would like to practice that. As far as liking a student, right, on the opposite, you might not like a student, and so then you're mean to them, or not mean, but it's no, you can't turn that in late, or no, you can't have more time, or no, you can't go to the bathroom after the bell, that kind of stuff. A student might remind you of someone, and you just, you can't pinpoint it, but you're oh, I just really don't care for them, and you sort of act annoyed. I've seen it. and it's awful because it's not the student's fault, and so it's just a bias that you have to get over. um, Maybe you have a student and you had their sibling, and their sibling was an amazing student or not amazing student, so that's another bias, right? Like putting your expectations or experiences with the sibling onto the current student, which is totally unfair. It's not their fault. They're a different child. Sure, they're the same family, but everyone is different. um, when it comes to families, I think sometimes teachers will see or hear something that their student does or says, and they make an assumption about the student's family, which is totally unfair. And then that seeps into your reaction, or excuse me, your interactions with the family. Um, Maybe here's like the parent has a certain job and it's something that you don't respect or something. I don't know, and so it affects how you communicate, and that's really unfair. So just try your best not to have any biases with your students. It's hard, and it's something that some people struggle with, but it's natural, and you just have to go into it knowing like I might have a bias, and I'm going to do all that I can to see each child as an individual and learn them, and that's it. Well, that was a lot.